everyone. Thanks for checking in here at the 757 Spy Flight Deck. We're in Frankfurt right now, and this is the new Fenix A320. You probably heard about this airplane. It's probably one of the most complex jets that you're going to fly in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Hello, I'm Dave. I do the 757 Spy Flight over on Twitch. And today I've got a little bit of maybe a challenge for you or something. You know, a lot of people take a look at Microsoft Flight Simulator and stuff like that. So, okay, so what's the big deal? What's the challenge? Here's a challenge for you right now. First of all, here's our airplane, and as I mentioned, we're going to kind of level this thing up a little bit. And the whole goal behind this flight is we're going to follow a real-world flight right now. Real weather, real time, and well, let me show you a little bit about what it is that I mean here. So what we're doing is I'm going to pick a real world flight and a departure airport. We're going to start FlightAware, and to take a look at FlightAware, let me show you what it is that I've already got going for you today. So over here on FlightAware, you can see that we're going to be following Lufthansa Flight 1196. Now, there's a couple of delays right now in the Frankfurt area, but I think this is probably a good flight. This is a real flight that goes to Zurich, and technically it's going to leave in about an hour. Okay, so it's going to leave in about an hour. So obviously I started FlightAware. If you don't use FlightAware, you can also use Flight Radar 24. So then the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick the destination. And so over here on Flight Radar 24, you can see these are the destinations. Now, I'm not doing this live with FlightAware so that I could go and get this done a little bit in advance so I could pre-produce a few things for this video. So here it is. There's Lufthansa Flight 1196. There's the information that I've got, including the departure time. I've converted that over to Zulu time, and then I went in and I did my flight plan. I took a look at what the real world is doing as far as departure runways and arrival runways, and that's what I did over here under route specifics 18 and 34, and with that I came up with today's flight plan. And that's what we have over here. Here's today's flight plan that I generated through Sim Toolkit Pro and SimBrief. This gave us a zero fuel weight, a load for our flight. It also gave us fuel and everything else we need. And most important, it gave us the flight schedule. So I don't know if you have noticed here in the Fenix airplane, but loading passengers takes a little bit of time. And you need to back time a little bit if you're going to make all this work. So here's a little graphic you may have seen on the spy flight. Before we start the spy flight, I've got a couple of these things. I call them the departure boards. And it gives you flight information, kind of makes the spy flight a little bit more like a real world flight. There's the weather information. But here is one of my old boarding passes that I took. Let's do it like this, that I had as a passenger. So yes, I save my boarding passes. Okay, I'm an airplane geek. I'm allowed to do those sorts of things. But I've gone and taken and converted the boarding pass, and I've turned it into a graphic. So you see the big time in the middle, 4:05 p.m. That's when boarding begins. Boarding ends at 4:25, so about 20 minutes for boarding, and then the plane leaves 10 minutes after that. So those are some good times for you to take a look at as far as when do you start boarding, when do you push back so that you can get a on-time departure. And then, of course, the flight is supposed to arrive at 5:40 Zurich time, so now you've got a goal, can we actually get in there? So what we've done is we've picked our destination, we've got our scheduled departure. For you to do this, you're going to need to choose your flight, maybe choose about an hour, no more than 90 minutes out. Start up Sim Toolkit Pro like you saw me do. Goal number one is a on-time pushback and an on-time arrival. Make sure that you don't use extra fuel unless you have to go around or divert. And if you want a little bit more fun, then go ahead and try and do some of this on something like VATSIM. I guarantee you that will make it even more of a challenge. We are shadowing Lufthansa Flight 1196 from Frankfurt to Zurich. Add-ons that I'm using for the flight are FlightAware, Navigraph charts and data, using Sim Toolkit Pro and SimBrief. The Hoppy ACARS system. That's something that the Fenix Sim uses, and it uses very well. And I'm also going to be using the metartaf.com website. So before we take off, I'm going to let you know this is a very complex airplane. This is about the most complex airplane I've ever seen in a sim. And we are shadowing a real world flight. There are a ton of rabbit holes that we're going to be jumping into. I always like to say with the videos that I produce here on YouTube, this is not about the right way versus the wrong way. This is simply what it is that works for me as a private pilot who flies little Cessnas and as a flight simmer and a live streamer. This is how I'm able to get my simulated big jets from point A to point B. So how can you play along? Well, first of all, why don't you fly along with me? Pause the video right now and maybe rewind and go through some of the steps and pick your own flight. And then I also suggest that you do it out of your own hometown airport sometime. And then if you feel like it, please feel free to join us over on Twitch for the spy flights. We do that every Tuesday through Sunday. Our departure time is 1900 Zulu. Our flight route for today will be departing off of Frankfurt's runway 18 with our flight route there. Landing on runway 34. Those are the real world runways that are going on right now. SimBrief put us at flight level 210. It's about a 40-minute flight, and our flight distance is 195 miles. So right now we are T-minus 1 hour from the real world departing. Now I've added just a few minutes here over on my boarding pass. You probably saw that my departure time is 35. The actual airplane is 25. One of the reasons that I did that is there's delays at Frankfurt and Zurich. And if you can see, this flight is now set to depart at 4:35 p.m. It was originally 25, so I knew there was going to be about a 10-15 minute delay. So we are right in the time groove as far as this is concerned. The latest weather for us here in Frankfurt. Right now, this is the latest METAR. This is METAR TAF. Links in the description below, of course. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight the METAR. If you are brand new to this flight sim thing, if you are new to airplanes and aviation, this is a great website for being able to visualize what the little weather code down here actually means. So you can see when we're going to take off on runway 18, we're going to have the wind from the right trying to blow us a little bit. No, the wind's going to be to the left blowing us. Anyway. We're also going to have a few clouds there. So yes, it's going to be wind is from the right blowing us to the left. It was upside down. I haven't had enough coffee yet this morning. So there we go. We're ready to go and do that pilot thing. The current time is 37 minutes before the top of the hour. Remember from the boarding pass, we are supposed to start boarding at 4:05. So if you've been waiting around an airport, you know that now's about the time that things start to happen at the departure gate. So let's go ahead and do the same thing. Our airplane is here at the gate. We do have a power cart connected, the jetway is connected, and the main door is open. Let's go ahead and hop into the best seat in the house right now. Here is the Fenix Sim. Before you do anything, important flight simulator safety tip, okay? And that safety tip is, I call it jiggle the controls. Just move your flight stick, move your rudder pedals, move your throttles, make sure everything is connected. Okay, important safety tip. Make sure if you're using some controls that your gear lever is down, your speed brakes are down, your flaps are up, and just make sure that all of that is good before you start punching buttons. Sometimes it can be a problem. Okay, so shall we do some Fenix Sim stuff? And again, at this point in time, you should have paused. If you're flying with me, you should have paused the video by now. You should have your flight route set, and you should know what time your departure is. Let's also go ahead and turn up the sounds of the sim. And you're probably looking here at the iPad here, the electronic flight bag. And if you want to know, on the Fenix Sim, the password is 0000. And if you forget, just put your little clicker on the thumbprint, and there you go. My airplane is cold and dark here, so my first step is to go to the pilot brief. And the pilot brief is going to go and give me the OPF, the Operational Flight Plan. Let's go ahead and click that one there. And this is going to download the flight plan that I got from SimBrief. You might have remembered just a few seconds ago, I was showing you this thing. Okay, that is essentially this. So this is it right here. And this is our flight plan, Lufthansa Flight 1196. We are going EDDF to Zurich. There's our departure times. Come down here a little more. Flight level 210, cost index is 5. 0 fuel weight, gate fuel, all of that is in there. So we're going to go and we're going to snag that first. Next step in the process, we'll zero out of that. Let's get our charts. So this is what I call getting my stack of charts. I don't know if the real world pilots call them, but what I try to do is have my charts all stacked up in my navigation chart application. In this case, Navigraph works very, very well with the Fenix Sim, and it really does make it a nice flight. If you click the route, it's going to load a map, and it's going to show your basic route. This is where we're going today. Now we're going to start at EDDF. And we're going to go and start and get ground charts. The first thing I'm going to do is come down here. Now, the real world pilots are going to read this whole thing. They read the whole thing. We're just going to go and do a few things here. I'm going to star this chart. This is our main ground chart. And I'm going to go and look at starred and make sure it's there. It is there. Now, we'll go back to ground charts. And I'm going to go and let's see here. I'm going to get a taxi. I think it's the taxi overview, just to be able to take a look. No, I don't want that one. I've got to remember, I don't need restrictions for the A380 or the 747. Info, we could do Eastern parking stands. Is that going to give me what I want? So let's click the East parking stands. Nope. Do we want the West stands maybe? Do I not know the difference between East and West? Probably not. Yeah, this is what we want. And the whole reason I want this is it just shows me the taxiways in greater detail here. Okay, so we got those two. So we got that. We're going to go to the top, close that out, make sure I've got both of those charts there. I do. The reason I'm checking to see that is sometimes I might star the chart, but it doesn't sometimes show up. We are looking for the Aniki 3 Alpha. And there's a lot here. And so unless it's up here at the top, I don't see it. There is a Nikkei 3 Alpha. I don't see it in that one. There is a Nikkei 3 Alpha. There it is. Chart 10-3B. 10-3B. 10-3. There it is. So let's click this one. If there is a guide, I suggest you use it and star that chart and then go back over here and make sure it loads in. Okay, it got it. Now let's go into Zurich. In Zurich, we're going to need the Rilla 2 Alpha arrival. So arrival, and do we have a list of arrivals? No, we got to look through it. So which one is it? It's a 2 Alpha. There is Rilix 2 Alpha. I believe that's it. Rilla 2 Alpha. So that's the one we want. Boy, I got lucky on that one. I'm going to star this. And because it's such a lot of charts to look through, I'm going to make sure that it popped in there. It did. Now let's go and do our approach. We're going to runway 34. ILS runway 34. There we go. Make sure we've got that. Star it. There's our approach. Make sure it showed up. It did. Then we go to ground charts. We're going to need an airport chart and airport info. How do you know which gate to go to when you go and land? Did that one show up? It did. So one of the things you could do is you could go over to your Flight Radar 24. And let's see, do we have a gate over here? Sometimes it'll give us our departure gate, but sometimes it doesn't give you an arrival gate. So we could also go and jump down a rabbit hole of, gee, where does Lufthansa park there? We could go and look for that. Maybe if we get time later on in the flight, we'll do that. Let's just go, do we have a gates chart? Here's parking stands. Let's see, those are restrictions. Let's see, this is areas A. Let's see, how about this one? Okay, this has got a couple of gates over there. We're going to choose this one. and we'll just grab one of those and see if we can't figure out where all that goes. Now, the reason I'm doing this now is this is what the pilots would do before departure. They would also probably go and take a look at the arrival, the alternate. I'm making sure that all my charts did show up there, and we're going to go over here to EDDF and go to Starred. And if we look here at the airport chart, now we know how to get from the pilot's lounge to our airplane, which is right over here. Okay, so we got that taken care of. Guess what? We're almost ready to start flipping on buttons. Take a look here. I've also got a printed real-world checklist with these complex airplanes. I really suggest you try and find one of those. They're out there. It's a PDF you can download, print it, have a copy. That's one of the few things that I really suggest that you print. So as pilots, we've just walked down the jetway, we've sat down, and it's time to start flipping on buttons. And with this airplane, just like any old Airbus, we're going to do battery 1 and 2. Let's also go ahead and do the external power. There's our external power. Master navigation and logo lights. Today, I'm recording this on the 23rd. That is an odd day, so I'm going to use nav and logo light system number 1. There's several different schemes for deciding which one you would use. That's the scheme that I use. We're going to be fueling the airplane, so my no smoking goes on, flat out on. And there's our airplane coming to life. With all of that coming to life, let's go and get out of charts, and we're going to go to the main Fenix app. Think of this as sort of like your airline app just for pilots. And so our airline app here is tap to import the flight plan from SimBrief. And guess what? There it is. 49 minutes to departure. 49 minutes. See the clock there? It's 13:46 Zulu. Looking at your clock on your flight notes here. Okay, we depart at 14:35. So 5 minutes after that, you see why that boarding pass comes in nice and healthy, nice and helpful, not healthy, helpful. So we need to start the passengers down the jetway right around 4:05 to make this work. So right now it's 46, so we've got a little bit of time before we're going to start welcoming our passengers on board. And by the way, there's a clock up here. It gives you local time and Zulu time. Local time and Zulu, really helpful if you're going to try and play this game. Let's go over here, and we've got a cool little thing, and let's see if there's a D-AIZI. There is a D-AIZI. The reason there's a D-AIZI, this is from VATSIM, so we can go and have a look and see what's going on. There's departure runways, 18, 25, center, and left for departures. So we've got a good runway. I'm not going to do this on VATSIM right now because I'm recording the video. And let's see if there's anything. There's no ATIS. So we'll hit view the METAR. And so you got your weather in here too, which I think is awesome. Let's go to ground services. Let's see what we got going on. GPU and chocks and cones route. The L1 door, that's the front door is up there. There is a jetway connected, and everything else is off for the moment. Mass and balance. Another word is weight and balance. Mass and balance. So these numbers that you see here are what the airplane is at right now. The numbers over here, we're going to have 149 passengers today. Our cargo, we're going to have 2.1 kgs of cargo, and our planned fuel is 4.7. And if you take a look at your flight plan, and there are several ways to do this, you could go over here to the pilot brief and remind yourself, what was our fuel for this? And in the flight plan format that I use, that's planned gate fuel, 4705. And let's go back in here. Let's see what it says. 4705. Wow, how about that? Okay, so all of this is looking pretty good. So this looks good. By the way, you could also hit the passenger info list if you want to see that. Let's see. Tierney Stevens is flying with us today, and B. Dawkins and Hildy Jorgen. You can go through that. That's kind of a cool little thing, you know, when you're sitting around and saying, I'm getting a little bored here. By the way, if you don't know on this airplane, panel states, this is how you set up your airplane to be cold and dark if that's the way you want to start it, and that's the way I like to start this airplane. And our airplane is slowly coming to life here. You might want to go and adjust PFDs a little bit. We're flying for the day, during the day, so I'm going to keep them all wide open here. Everything else is looking good. Everything looks nice up here. There's nothing really to do at the moment. So let's go down here, and we're going to start with this one right here. This is the co-pilots, and we're going to use the ATSU system. If you don't know, ATSU is Air Traffic Services Unit. There's two of them. So we're going to use the ATSU over here. And then we're going to use the AOC menu, and that stands for Airline Operations Control. And we're going to click this one. We're going to go do Flight Init, and we're going to init a data request. And this is going to go and get our flight information. Takes a few seconds. Now this is, I believe you need to be on the Hoppy ACAR system for this to work. I'm not 100% sure. I think that's why they use Hoppy. So EDDF is our departure, ZH, estimated time en route, and we are Lufthansa Flight 1196. Perfect. So that looks good. Let's go over in here, ATC request. If we were on VATSIM, we could do a pre-departure clearance here. So we do know that we are at, you could put in that we are at gate A28. So A28. You could pop that in there. You could also go over and take a look at this page and go back over here to the departure. And there's the METAR. We could hit this, and this says it's information K or Kila. And so you can come over here and you could put in the letter K. Now then, at this point in time, if we were on VATSIM, what we would do is we would put in the ATC call sign that is doing this. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to send something, because there actually is ATC there. So we really can't hit send at the moment, but this is how you could request a clearance if you were on VATSIM. You can also do your oceanic clearance through here too. Can't wait to try that someday. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so but we can come over here and we do a weather request, and the weather request is going to be EDDF. I do recommend typing slowly on these things. You can't type fast, and send it. Okay, so we've sent our weather request. And so what we'll do is we'll wait for a company message to show up, and there we go. Now that we've done those things, let's go over here and let's do something with this system. Now we're going to use the FMGC system. By the way, there is maintenance that you can do if you have failures and stuff like that. Ground services, you can do all, this is where you can turn all these things on or off. So all of that's pretty good. Let's see, so we're done in there. Let's see, reset FMS, cancel. No, FMS reset. No, don't do that. Let's go back to the main. Okay, desired system, FMGC. All right, so it's got a couple of notifications down here. Nav accuracy upgrade. We're going to cancel that. Our AC position's invalid. We know that. And yes, we know we've lost the GPS. Check your nav data here. Our nav data is looking good. So we'll go to init. Let's init a request. And this is now going to go and get more of our flight plan for us. And we're waiting for our flight plan to show. There it is. We know our cost index is going to be 5. We know, and we're going to clear that. We know that we're flying as DLH, Lufthansa, and we are flying as 1196. 1196, and that goes up there. Our cruise for today is flight level 210, and we're going to pop that in too. Okay, now that we got that basic stuff in there, we're going to look up here and look up here, and we're going to turn on ADIRS nav 1 or IR1, and you'll see that the fault light comes on, the on battery light comes on. So we'll do, there's another fault on battery. Those are a good thing to check. And then finally, number 3, fault on battery, and those are good. Next thing I'm going to do is, as I'm going down this panel, I'm going to just quickly turn on my crew supply of oxygen. And in case some idiot brings some sort of a dog or something and puts it in the cargo hold, we're going to add a little bit of heat so that, we don't have, a frozen dog down there. All right, so now that we've got that, let's go down to IRS init, and we're going to align. and confirm. Go back. Now let's go to winds. This is so cool. We can get winds through this now. Let's go ahead and zoom this in a little bit. So it's going and getting the winds. There's all of our winds. So we can clear that and return. If we wanted to be really good pilots, we would go and probably start. We'd review the winds, but there are other things to review today. What time is it? It is 15:55. So over in the terminal, they are probably starting to make, hi, this is your first announcement for Lufthansa Flight 1196. We will be boarding soon, and first class gets to get on first, and the people who got the cheap, you know, they're going to say all those things. So they're probably doing that right now. You and I, you know, flight sim geeks and airplane geeks, we're looking out the window looking at the airplane. We're not paying attention to that. Okay, so we got this going on here. Let's look and see. I don't see a company message yet. I wonder if my weather came in. Let's look at received messages. Weather data came in, so I guess weather data isn't considered a company message. And I'm just going to take a look at this. Our altimeter is 1002, 23 degrees and 16. So I'm just verifying that this corresponds with the notes that I have over here. And by the way, this little flight note here, you've probably seen, I've gone and I've put this into the description too. So you have a copy of what I use for my style of flight notes. Okay, so our weather looks good there. We've got a few minutes. Let's go ahead and do flight planning. We've already, at this point, you know, we may have our clearance. So we can roger that, and we can go and put in our departure. And our departure information today is we are blasting off on runway 18. It is going to be the Nikkei 3 Alpha. So there's no 3 alphas. There it is, Anik 3 Alpha. Pop that in. And at this point, if there were transitions or anything, they would show up there. There isn't, so we'll insert that into the flight plan. Now the real pilots, they're going to kind of come over here. They'll turn on the plan mode. They'll turn on constraints. And then they'll come down here and maybe look down like this. Come over here, maybe zoom out just a bit so you can get to the buttons. And so what they're going to do is they're going to go and page through and look at the flight plan, looking for route discontinuities. And there is one right there. And it's already showing up at Rilix. So we already know what our arrival runway is today. So we can go and pop that in. If it's an airport like Chicago and they're using 2 or 3 different runways, maybe we'll just put in the first part of the star. But today we know that they are using the ILS for runway 34. So ILS 34. Okay, our star going in is Rilla 2 Alpha. So we get the page through here. And there's Rilla 2 Alpha. And so there was no transition, but look at the vias. Is there a via? Oh, no via. No, they actually have vias here. So let's go over here to our charts. And let's see what we have. So that's EDDF, LSZH. Now chances are the real world pilots, they've already studied this, and so they just know. But I'm going to go ahead and have a look and see. So Rila 2 Alpha. So Rila 2 Alpha, and that's going to be RAV'd. So it's going to put us out at RAV'd. No, it's not. Rilix. It's going to put us out at Amiki. Don't listen to me. It's Amiki is what they're going to put us out on. And then let's look at the ILS. And there's Rilix there. Maybe I've chosen the wrong... Nope, this is the only one. I don't see a Mickey here. Now, do we have that option? AMI 30... Amiki. That's right there in front of me. Okay. So we'll select Amiki. And let's insert that. Okay, now we can also go through and let's look through our flight plan once more. And this time I'm not really looking at the map. Did I add a new discontinuity or anything like that? Doesn't look like it. And in fact, all of that looks good. And that should take us right down to the runway. So flight plan. I have a feeling I screwed up something here. So up at LSZH on the approach, is there an interim? Is there a transition here? Sometimes they have transitions. Cat, ILS. Are there transitions down here? Look at this. There are. See, I had a feeling there are. So we are on RILX transitions. So let's do that. Aha, see, there they are. So RILX. I had a feeling. Okay. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Okay. See, don't listen to me. I hope that that worked, or is it? Did I choose the Amiki transition? There's Amiki there. Boy, I have a feeling I just gave myself a real headache here. I think I should have done the RILX transition. I have a feeling I should have done that instead. Let's look and see, because chances are I've gone and really made a goofy mistake here. And you know what? This could be a problem if you're trying to go and stay ahead of the clock. We need to start bringing in our passengers soon. Oh, yes. Idiot here. Idiot approach. Doesn't know what he's doing. We're all going to die. All right, let's go back in here. So we're going to go to the arrival. And we're going to go and let's reselect all of this. Reselect. So localizer 34. RILX. RILA 2. Via. And I bet we want instead the RILX version. Let's insert that. Now, one of the things that I'm doing is there is a clock on this airplane right here. It's 14:02. Remember when we're supposed to start boarding? It is 16:02. Check out, remember the boarding pass? 14:05. Yeah, we don't want to get down this rabbit hole too far. Okay, so this is ILS or localizer. And we decided that we wanted the RILX version of this. Okay, I bet that's better. I hope so. Otherwise, I'm going to be really embarrassed. But we got to go and start the passengers down the jetway. So come on over here. We're going to get out of this. We're going to go over to the airliner app. And let's go to mass and balance. 16:02. We're about 2 to 3 minutes ahead. I think that's great. Let's stay ahead of the game. Load. It's going to take 25 minutes to load. See, this is going to put the passengers in, and they'll be pulling the jetway back right at the current time. So they're already loading cargo and fuel, and if you look outside the airplane, you'll see that the cargo bays are open. There's no real animation on that, I don't think. Maybe there is another one and I haven't seen it yet. Now we can jump back into our little rabbit hole here and see just how badly I've messed this up, which is probably pretty bad. Okay, so here's our flight plan. Let's look out here. This is also part of the challenge. You know, let's get it right. Okay, RILX, LAMX, that doesn't look right either. That doesn't look right either. I don't think we want that LAMX in there. That one might be a problem. I don't think we want to do that one. Yeah, okay, look at this. We've got a RILX, a LAMX, and a RILX again. Let's go and clear a few things out because nothing says flying like messing up your flight plan. And let's remove that and insert and see if that doesn't look a little better. Now let's go to the top. Try it again. Now, if I'd done a little more homework on this one, I probably would have had this answer. Our little pre-flight briefing that we did in sort of the pilot's lounge was like 5 minutes. Okay, that looks right. That looks like our approach. That's it. There we go. And we're going to do the little procedure turn around there. A procedure turn is always a good time. Okay, so that's looking good. I think we can go back to the arc mode now. And we know that our departure, let's see if we have a special departure for us. Departure altitude. So that looks an awful lot more like what I think it is that we're supposed to be doing here today. Although it looks, I would think almost Milne was that. No, we're not doing a procedure turn either, are we? Yeah, even that one doesn't look right. Oh well, we will figure it out. Let's keep pressing on. So the departure, do we have an altitude? Transition altitude here is 5,000 feet. Maximum 220 knots. There's Reed. Initial climb clearance, there it is at the bottom, 4,000 feet. So now we have our initial climb clearance is 4,000 feet. So we're doing that pretty good. Let's see if the initial load sheet has come in. This is supposed to come in 30 minutes or so before pushback, and this is our initial load sheet. So we can come over here to the performance page. No, we can come over here to the init page. Boy, do I wish I had a rewind button. We're going to do the init page here, and we're going to do page B. Now, these are just preliminary, but they're usually fairly close. And you can go in and tweak these before takeoff. So our zero fuel weight is 58.1. So 58.1. And by the way, that's right off of the flight plan. Our zero fuel weight is center of gravity is on the second page, and that's 30.5. 30.5. And so that'll go in at the top. Uh-oh, I didn't do it right. I didn't do it right. Can't count on me for anything today, can you? 58.1. 58.1. Slash next page 30.5. 30.5. Oh, I bet I didn't hit the point. 0.5. I'll bet it works now. Whew, glad it worked now. Okay, next thing. Our fuel is supposed to be 4.7. And guess what? We have 4.7. So let's do 4.7. And all of that looks good. It's going to go and do a little bit of math in here for us. And do trip time and a few other things. So we'll let it do a little of that. Now, in the United States, I believe that there's a new requirement because of the big old nasty virus that you're supposed to have the APU on and running air through the airplanes. There's rules in Europe about APU start times and stuff, and that's 10 minutes before, so there's probably an air conditioning cart that's plugged into the airplane. Otherwise, we'd be starting up the old APU now. You can get to your charts here in two different ways. You can zero and go to each one, or you could probably see as you move the pointer up, you can also get to them just by moving it up here too, which is neat. Okay, 36 of our 149 passengers have boarded. It is now 14:08 Zulu. We are supposed to be pushing back at 14:35. So there's the clock kind of ticking just a little bit there. What else can we do here? Let's go ahead and we'll accept our initial load sheet. Back to the weather page. Our altimeter is 1002. We could do 1002 now. Although since this is from the spy flight, it really should be 1007. But I shouldn't complain. 1002. There we go. 1002. And I'm going to be a good pilot, and I'm going to set my backup altimeter as well. Cool. So all of this is looking good. They've already loaded the cargo. Cargo is already loaded on up. So that's looking good. What else can we do? One of the things that I haven't been doing, and I think I'm supposed to put this in manually, is our alternate fuel or time. So the alternate, we'll go over here and you come over to the flight plan. The alternate for us is LSMP. and it's going to be 1.0 and 0023. So I think it's going to be, maybe I round it up, I'm not sure, but let's go 1.0/023. I think that's how you do your alternate. Didn't like that. How about 1.0? I've done that before, and that seems to work. Okay, so that adds that in there too. Okay. This is another thing that I haven't read yet, so I'm not 100% sure. We are now, the current time is 16:10, pushing back at 16:35. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Now, if you look over at that flight boarding pass, so the passengers, we let them start to go down the runway at 4:05. At 4:25 p.m., that's when the doors close, and that gives you 10 minutes between close the door and be out of the gate. There's a couple of numbers that the real world of aviation uses. And you'll see that here at the top of my flight plan, and it's over here, and it says out, off, on, in. And if I'm decoding them correctly, out means you're out of the gate at 14:35, you're off the ground at 14:45, you're on the ground at 15:34, and at your gate at 15:40. Now, SimBrief and SimToolkit Pro add a little bit of time. If you look at the real world, they're actually expected to be at the gate at 5:20 p.m. So in our case, this has added an extra 20 minutes to the time. So, you know, gives you a little bit more time there to get into the gate. So we'll see if we can beat the real world airplane. We could also go and start getting ready to do our speeds. So let's go and sync the load sheet right now. And there's our load sheet. Let's go over here and do runway 18, which is the departure. We're going to do sync the current weather. And so all of that looks good. The runway is dry today. Flaps are going to be optimal flaps. We do not want to force toga. Anti-ice is off. Packs, I'm going to leave my packs on. It's starting to get warm out there. And here are our weights and our center of gravity. Now we can hit a temporary calculate and let's see what we get. And so we're going to do flaps 2. Trim will be down 0.1. We will flex to 68 degrees. And V1's 141, rotate at 141, and 144 is what we've got. We could have also set up an intersection departure on this if we'd wanted to. All right, I think everything is really looking pretty good at the moment. So we're just going to leave this here. I'm not going to do these final numbers here until we get the final load sheet. One of the things you'll see from the final load sheet is that we will often get 1 or 2 extra passengers that shows up. So things are looking good. Passengers are rolling down the jetway. Now the load times on all of this, it's sort of like, I'm not I don't work for the airlines, never have. All I've ever been is a passenger. But it must seem insanely slow loading an airplane, especially since a lot of airlines don't start paying people until the doors close, you know, and they push back. So that's sort of like, okay, we're working for free here. Boy, I mean, these load times, these passengers just take for freaking ever. Okay, nothing else to really worry about here. We can go over here and panel states. So there were some cargo doors you can open. We didn't do any of that, but what we can do is we could connect a tug soon. I've generally found that if I can find a way to connect my tug sooner rather than later, especially on a big VATSIM event, when it's time to push back, you don't have time for the tug to drive up. So I'm getting my tug connected sooner rather than later here. And the airplane's looking pretty nice. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Real world weather, real world time. Must be looks like a nice day in Frankfurt. This is, by the way, the gate. This is A28. So this is the gate that this flight's taking off. Although there is a change. I missed a change. look at the real world. It's not A28 anymore. The airplane is now departing from A38. Yeah, gate changes. There's going to be gate changes and stuff. And you can see we're expected to depart in 21 minutes. So a little bit of the challenge here is watch the clock and not necessarily beat the clock, but stay on time. That's a part of airline is on time. Nothing else to really do here at the moment. How's our passengers doing? Back to mass and balance. 83 of our passengers have shown up. And you can also, if you zoom in here, you can also see the passenger seats slowly filling up too. This apparently the Lufthansa flights here, they've got a business class and then an economy class. So it looks like business class, they basically block the middle seat. Several other airlines do that as well. So let's see. Let's go over here. And nope, not that one. That one. So that is that's actually a United seat map there. So it looks like Lufthansa. It seems, I think, a lot of the European airlines will do that. They'll have a business class instead of a first there, and it's a little bit more. So there we go. So let's go over here to main. The departure gates boards that I put together, if you're a live streamer, you see what it is that I'm doing. That's just a nice gray background, and all of the text shows up is a text file that I do, and then I've got a cutout of the airplane, I've got a cutout of the airline, I've got a picture that I snapped of the airport that we're going to from the sim, and that's where that one comes up. The weather map comes from my flight plan, and that's just, again, a bunch of weather data. I put these things together before the spy flight because we're doing an airline flight, so it's a little bit of the airline vibe there. All right, how's everything else going? Looking pretty good. In our clearance, we probably would have gotten a squawk code, so we should probably prepare to put a squawk code in here. And that, see, Europe, I think generally that's going to be a code or 1,000. So we'll just do 1,000 right now. And everything else is looking good here too. The checklists, if you don't have a checklist, you could also go over here to the flight documents, I believe. And if you look over on the flight documents, those are actually settings, not documents. Duh. And over here to documents, here is a normal checklist. And this is really pretty close to what it is that I've got right now. Mine is slightly older. One of the things that they would do for like the before start. So after, yeah, this is a little bit different here. So slightly different from the one that I'm using. This is probably a little more up to date. Mine's probably getting old. So going and finding something that looks like that and printing it out might be really nice. Also, if you're new to this airplane, the Fenix A320 user guide, that whole PDF file is over there. So that's really nice. You could also read a weather briefing. So there's a very nice weather briefing from the flight plan. It will also show you all of the real world NOTAMs for the airport. There are pages and pages of these. If you want to talk about jumping down a rabbit hole, I'll tell you what, now there's a rabbit hole. If you look in the lower right hand corner, there's two little boxes that you can click. This one is if you want to use have an external iPad or something and have this there. I've tried it. It works. Not all of the functions show up, but it does work. And then this delay allocation card. So if you get a late departure, you're going to get a company message that says, what's your excuse? So there's a loading error. There was a broken tug. There isn't one in there except other than OTH for other, as in, I was an idiot or something like that. So, yeah, there's, or can't blame me. Okay, we're 109 passengers. The current time is 14:19. We have 6 minutes until, again, according to an airline type schedule for an airplane this size, we're going to be closing the doors at 4:25. So 4:25. At this point in time, maybe we would go and start thinking about starting up the APU. So master switch on the APU can go on. Okay, stop here. Yeah, I was an idiot. I left the boarding pass up while I was doing a bunch of stuff. So I want to get this video online for you so you have something to play with today. I will redo this challenge and do a proper cold and dark at some point in time, but I hopped down a rabbit hole and I didn't see anything, so there was clearly an edit there, and I think I missed a bunch of stuff there. We've obviously started up the APU. We have looked at a couple more charts, but really there's not a whole lot that's gone on. So I hope I didn't cut out too much there. But we've just started up the APU. We kind of started looking at checklists. One of the things is if you don't have a nice printed checklist like the one that I have, we've got a checklist down here in Documents. There is the Fenix Sim User's Guide, and we also have some really nice checklists. And yeah. Oops, apologies for that. We are at 131 passengers. The current time is 14:22 Zulu, or 4:22 in the afternoon. And the boarding pass does say that we're going to close the doors at 4:25. I'll bet we're going to close the doors at 4:25, or close enough. So we got the APU up and running. Look up here, and it is available. So I'm going to get the bleed on. And we're going to turn the temperature in the back of the airplane down one click. More people back there, it gets a little hotter, easier, so aft cabin is maybe a click cooler. And with this, we're going to go ahead and disconnect ground power. Again, these are little strategies for trying to get out the gate on time. So we got all of this. Let's go down to ground services. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to disconnect the GPU now. Look over here. Is your parking brake engaged? Yes, it is. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and they're going to connect the tug. Now, I've seen some airports that have the tug already connected when the passengers are rocking down the jetway. In this case, you know, maybe they won't connect while the jetway is open. I'm not sure because it jiggles the airplane. I'm not sure if that's a proper thing to do. But this is me connecting the jetway because there's 9 people to go. We are ready to start doing some more buttons and things here. So we're waiting for another load sheet. We've already done a preliminary look at what our V speeds are going to be for takeoff. If we were on VATSIM and there was no ATC, we would be dialing 122.8 on our radio here. So we can do that. We would probably be calling for a pushback clearance here in the next 3 to 5 minutes. We've got 5 passengers to get on the airplane. So looks like we had a pretty full flight today. Not too many middle seats are open. And if we look, you can see our tug is ready to go. All right, now by doing the tug, this was a bit of an experiment on my part. It also closed the door and did the jetway. Did that stop my passengers? No, my passengers are still boarding, but from a visual standpoint, it's closed the door on me already, and it's retracted the jetway. So when you do ground services and you do the tug, that's going to close your doors and retract your jetway. It doesn't affect us. Boarding is now complete. It is 16:25. So the jetway would be pulling back anyway. And is the jetway coming back? Now the jetway's coming back. So I really messed with the airplane's logic here. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's good. Now we got to close the door, I think, on our own. So let's go over here and we're going to close the door. The tug is still connected. Is that going to get rid of my jetway? I've closed the door. I need to get rid of the jetway. Is there a way to disconnect? Toggle jetway. Let's see if that gets rid of my jetway. Okay, good. Whew. So we're looking pretty good here. All right, now guess what? The real world flight just got a delay. Now they are departing at 10 minutes late. So they are now late on their departure. We're going to try and be on time for all of this. So I'm waiting for my next load sheet to come in. And we've got the APU is up and running. We're going to do seatbelts. Seatbelts are good. Let's go ahead and do fuel pumps because we're about ready to start doing startup stuff. And all of this is looking good up here. So seatbelts are good. We're going to go ahead and arm the emergency exits. Our emergency exits are armed as well. And so all of this is coming together. Let's see. We're waiting for that load sheet. And the current time is 14:26. To push back, we have to release our parking brakes and start the push in the next 6 minutes. So I'm just kind of waiting. Let's say we're waiting for clearance. I'm also waiting for the load sheet, which is, I believe, supposed to come down automatically 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know exactly when that load sheet comes in. Let's see. They did put together an ACARS overview. 30 minutes or less. Preliminary load sheet. When does final load sheet? Edition number. I'm just looking through their PDF. 7 minutes after loading completes. So on average, 7 minutes after the loading is complete, we get our final load sheet. So that's going to be a minor change. Minor change to CG. It'll tell us if we have any additional passengers, and we'll go and we'll update that information. And then from there, we'll go, and as soon as we get that in, we'll hit the push button. Well, it's 14:28. I have 6-7 minutes. So at this time, we're just counting minutes here. Flight attendants are probably starting to do announcements. I've got this set up over here on Tug Connected. So all we have to do is release the parking brakes and hit start, and we're on our way out. Come on, load sheet. That's the last thing I really want. Now, one of the things is in a two-person cockpit, one of the cool things that could happen is maybe the pilot not flying during a push or something like that would be able to put in the load sheet. But during taxi, it looks to me from all the cockpit videos that I see that one of the things that they do is they keep a close eye. They're looking for traffic. The ATC down here, we would probably start by going TA and maybe auto, but if you're on VATSIM, you're just going to go TA, RA, and on for altitude for all of this here. So you would do all of that there at the same time, and that gets you basically mode Charlie on VATSIM. Okay, it is about 5 minutes since it's about 5 minutes. Let's see, before start checklists, I wonder if we can, nope, we can't do that. There's one more thing we're waiting for that load sheet, and then we'll do before start. You know, now might be a really good time for an edit. So we'll do a little edit here as we wait for the load sheet. And the load sheet has made an appearance. So let's look down here. Here's our final load sheet. It only took another 2 minutes or so. So this is the final load sheet. Our zero fuel weight is now 58.1. That's correct. They've added 4 new passengers. And then on page 2, our zero fuel weight is now 31.0. So we can do, I believe, a slash and a 31.0. And I think that'll change that. See, that'll change that there. We're going to accept that load sheet. That looks good. So we'll go back there. Now let's go ahead and do the final load sheet over in departure performance. So sync the final load sheet. There's the final load sheet. We'll do a resync of weather. And there is all of our numbers. There we go. So all that looks good. So now at this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and do the beacon. And we're going to ring the bell, let the cabin crew know that we are serious about rolling the airplane about. And everything else is good. Parking brake is going to go off. And we're going to look over here. And we're going to come back here. And we're going to do Fenix. And start the push. Out we go. And we are out of the gate. And we are out 3 minutes early. So we'll just do a little bit of a push here. And my guess is they would probably push us into this general area here so that we're not blocking anything. We could also do a bit of an engine start if we wanted to. So let's go ahead and start up engine number 2. And there goes engine 2. Okay, there is a tree that's growing over here. Probably not the right thing to do. Okay, we're going to go over a little bit this way. And we'll wait till we get just behind that roadway. While we're starting here, we're also keeping a close eye on the oil. Make sure we don't have an oil leak. And now straight back beyond the roadway. That's good. This thing does not stop on a dime. So when you hit stop, when you click stop, it keeps rolling a little bit. All right, parking brakes are on. And we're going to release the tug. Come on over here. And at this point, we're going to get our charts. We're going to get the EDDF chart there. And now while we're doing this, we're also going to go to performance. And since the load sheet data is in, we can come and just enter this data in that we've already done. So flaps 2 down 0.3. Flaps 2. And our trim is down 0.3. Oops, I keep missing the point. I need to make a point of getting the point. Okay, that looks good. We're going to flex to 68 degrees. So 68. There we go. And it's going to be 137, 137, 140. 137. 137. And 140. I've found that thrust reduction and acceleration pretty much takes care of itself. Did we start 2? We didn't start 1. I started 2. I didn't start 1. There we go. There's 1 starting. I thought I hit 1 start while we were watching the tug drive away. But we are out of the gate right now, so we're in pretty good shape. Let's see. We should be squawking mode Charlie if we're on VATSIM. So those 2 buttons mean we are squawking mode Charlie. I did not do the before start checklist like a good pilot. Gear pins, signs, ADIRs, fuel, takeoff data, barrel reference, windows, beacon, thrust levers, all of those were good. So I kind of did it, but I should have done it a little bit better. This airplane really will make you work. And I screw it up all the time. Back over here, but that's part of the challenge. So looks like we're going to come out here. We're going to come down here. We'll probably go to November to runway 18. That'll be our taxi clearance. Engine number 1 is starting nicely. And that engine is now available. We'll get the starter back to the normal spot. We're done up here with the APU, so the bleed can go off and the master switch can go off too. Control checks. So sit back in your chair, make sure that the tilt thing is locked, and let's go ahead and do, there is aileron all the way left and neutral, all the way right, release it to neutral, all the way forward, all the way back, and they both go to neutral. Rudder right, rudder left, and trim down 0.3. Trim is down. Next things on my checklist would have been predictive wind shear. That doesn't work on this airplane yet. We're going to redo the rudder. I'm going to arm my speed brakes at this point in time, and we are ready to go. After start checklist. Anti-ice. I don't think we need it today. ECAM status is checked. Pitch trim is set. Rudder trim is 0. It's taxi time. So let's go ahead and nose light is on. Another bell for the cabin. Let them know that we're going to roll the airplane about. Parking brakes are off. In this case, as you look outside the window here, look out there, add a little bit of power. Not much. As soon as this airplane starts rolling, rolling. No, I won't say that old show. Then thrust idle. As soon as you get this airplane rolling, all you need to do is thrust idle at this point, and you're going to taxi basically at about 10, 15 knots, unless you're going uphill or downhill. Sometimes at bigger airports you might need to add a little bit more, depending upon whether or not you've got changes in terrain, just because it's such a bigger area. And if we look outside, you can see our nose gear is right pretty much on the line. This is, I believe, a nice payware for Frankfurt. It's a really nice payware. Okay, so we're going to make a left turn and look for taxiway November. Starting to pick up speed, so thrust idle again. And we're going to look right, nobody there, look left, and start our turn. Little fast here, might need some toe brakes. And looking forward, do we have taxiway November showing up there? Sometimes it's hard to see these things. And if you're not sure, look at your chart. Yep, that's November. The blanks over there are not much help, guys. I don't mean to be a brat. Can we see it outside the window? Nope, it's blank there too. And out we go. Might add just a little bit of power after these two 90-degree turns here like this, because we've got a longer taxi. Flaps 2 for takeoff. Here's flaps 2. I'm using the Thrustmaster TCA Airbus stuff. It works really good with the airplane. A few people have had trouble setting it up. I am using most of the settings that I had from the fly-by-wire, and it's working great. Okay, auto brakes to max. Takeoff check, config check is good. And we'll just taxi gingerly by all the big fuel tanks over there. And everything's looking good there. So just straight ahead to runway 18. Starting to pick up some speed, thrust back to idle. I'm going to guess that's where they service, maybe that's a little garage for servicing tugs. Looking over here, there's Lufthansa Cargo. I'm feeling my old MD-11 calling me. We'll probably be doing, assuming you're watching this later on today, we're probably going to do a Lufthansa Cargo flight over an X-plane in the MD-11 this week. It's just been too long. Betty, the voice of the MD-11, is saying, "Where have you been?" And everything's looking good. As we approach the runway, we could go and do before takeoff checks. Flight controls were checked and set. Flight instruments are currently set. Briefing has been done ad nauseum. The flap setting is confirmed to flaps 2. V1 VR flex is all set. Yes, all that's good. ATC is on. ECAM memo is clean and green. I'm using an old style checklist, so our takeoff is good to the line. And we just go straight forward to runway 18. I did this sort of this flight earlier, and I really just got lost in this general area up here. And I was on VATSIM. 3 cheers for the ATC people, because, boy, did I make one stupid wrong turn. And they were very nice about it. The flaps are really nicely modeled on this airplane. So are the leading edge slats in the engines. So continue going straight ahead and straight ahead to runway 18. Load up the departure. Remember, we've got a little bit of a crosswind, and the crosswind's going to be from the right, blowing us to the left. So there's November 17. Our runway is just ahead. We're supposed to be off the ground at 16:45 Zulu. It is, no, we're supposed to be off the ground at 14:45 Zulu. We have 2 minutes for takeoff. So you see, there's a little bit of timing, a little bit of method to the madness. And you can also see how a little bit of a delay, you know, causes a delay. And there's our hold short point. And we're holding short. Runway 18. So the before takeoff checklist continues. Takeoff runway is confirmed. Cabin crew's been advised of takeoff. TCAS is TARA. Engine mode is going to be normal. Packs are going to be on. Takeoff checklist is good. Shall we go? Let's go ahead. We're cleared onto the runway. I usually turn my strobes on, and I turn the landing lights up one click. This is one of those airplanes that has the landing lights that are kind of flush up in the wing, and they go bzzz down, or maybe they go bzzz down like that. Anyway, you get the picture. So what I've gone and done is, all I've done is lowered the landing lights as I whack my glasses too. Yeah, train wreck here today, folks. It's my day off. I get to be like this. Anyway, so I have the landing lights down, and they're basically ready for us. Runway 18 is looking good. We'll make it a rolling takeoff. So up here, one more click. Landing lights are up. Throttle goes up. I usually go up to that little 5 halfway mark there. And I look at the throttles. And I look down. If they're equal, I say stable. And manual flex, SRS is set. I didn't get my runway set. I've got auto thrust blue. Remember, we're getting blown slightly off to the side, so a little bit of rudder. Releasing the nose wheel. There's 120 knots. I have messaged the people at Fenix. Really hope, if you want to rotate, that they'll give us some call-outs for takeoff so that I'm not having to look at the airspeed so much. Positive rate of climb. Gear. So long, Frankfurt. We'll be back. And we would now be talking, there's lever climb. There's thrust climb. Flight directors. Center those up a little bit. And you start getting them centered up. Let's just do AP. Engaged. And if you haven't been on an airplane in a while, if you get a chance, just go and, you know, get it on AP and watch the departure. Okay, we can go and do flaps 2. There goes flaps 2. Now flaps from 2 to 1, excuse me. We're beyond the S, so let's go ahead and watch the show. Flaps up. I gotta say, those animations are really spot on. They look good. Okay, we were off blocks at a correct time, so that is an important time for airlines. We're not going to get yelled at for being late. Let's see, we're 4,000 feet. Climb and maintain flight level 210. And you may have to go and redo the managed on the climb. I was too busy looking outside. Okay, there's a speed restriction of 220 knots here. This is what, as somebody who's been flight simming a long time, this is what I have been waiting for. an airplane like this in a simulator with scenery like this, where I'm not having to download, you know, terabytes of ortho scenery. We're at transition, so altimeters to standard. After takeoff checklist. Landing gear is up. Yes, flaps are retracted. They are. Packs are on. Barrel reference is set. After takeoff checklist is good. Not the longest of flights today. I think that these shorter flights like this, like what we're doing right now, is a great way to do this little spy flight challenge. You know, take on the real world. See what's going on. In fact, we should. What is going on in the real world? We have a delay. They are. I think they're pushing back now. I think the real world is pushing back right now. But again, Frankfurt and Zurich both have been dealing with delays today. Actually, they've been dealing with delays the past few days. There's been some storms over Europe, and I think that, well, okay, now we know. There is our storms. And in fact, it looks like we've got thunderstorms on the way into Zurich. Okay, what have I set myself up for today? We are 25 miles from top of climb. Let's go back over here. It's a little early. I'm going to go and do weather. And I'm going to do a weather request for LSZH. LSZH. And I'm going to request the METAR and go send. Return and received. And we'll wait for the weather to come in for Zurich. Passing 13,000 feet. Forgot to do landing lights. And the little nose light. By the way, on this airplane, something that they did, I really want to say thank you, developers. So let's go down here. So look up here. You can control these individually. So here is the right light. There's the left light. Or watch what happens. Put your little pointer in between the two. You can do them both together. Thank you, developers. Wow, Phoenix. That just makes it a little bit easier for us here in the sim. You know, being able to tie your altimeters together, that's another thing that makes it really nice. We are pretty much clear of the stars, so now I'm going to go to airports, and we're going to go and pop this out. Weather radar does not work yet in this airplane. Terrain radar does, so we can at least engage terrain radar. Generally, I think airlines basically require one pilot to be looking at terrain, the other one to be looking at weather radar. So they kind of split up that duty. So we'll turn on terrain radar. Not expecting to see much now, but coming into Zurich we will. Passing 15,000 feet. See, I should have disarmed my ground spoilers. Ground spoilers are disarmed. Weather data has come in. So here is our weather for Zurich. And 1006. There is a thunderstorm in the vicinity. Winds are 300 at 14. We're on 3-4, I believe. Is it 3-4? Yeah, 3-4, so the winds are not awful. Broken clouds, CBs. Yeah, we got ourselves a real mess here coming on in. It's going to be bad. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Passing 18,000 feet. Well, it's nice here. But it's not going to be so nice elsewhere. And holy moly, look at that scenery. You know, you might say, okay, come on, it's it's about the jets, right? It's not about the scenery. The thing is that even though we're flying IFR and stuff, it's still about what's outside the window. I mean, that just adds so much more to the immersion, as opposed to just, okay, did we follow the VOR? And it's great that the technology has improved to the point where we can do this now. Almost to our final cruising altitude, 6 miles from top of climb. Everything else is good to go back here. Anything to do up here? Not really. I'm going to go and do seatbelts a little bit early because we're going to probably have to do seatbelts a little bit sooner than usual because of the thunderstorms. And there's final cruise. And altitude is starred. We're in, it says Mach hold. I did switch over the airport. There's an option with the Fenix Sim to switch over the airplane instruments, and I believe the airplane itself, I'm not sure how much of it, to the GPU as opposed to the CPU. And I will tell you that my FPS is not bad. I'm about 30, between 28 and 40. It doesn't flash as red that much. I think that has made this a lot more pleasant. So I'm getting really good FPS here. So that's very nice. So that's something that's been pretty good. I have kicked up the speed of my fans a little bit. So I use the MSI Afterburner. So I've kicked up, the fans are going to kick up a little bit more. But you can see the GPU's a little bit higher. And I've just been, really, really happy with the way that this thing has been set up. Fenix has really leveled this up. Okay, let's have a look here and see. We are 89 miles away. Destination data is already ready for destination data. How about that? So our approach, 1006. 1006 is our destination QNH. The temperature is 20 degrees. So yeah, it's already thunderstorm season in this part of the world. Winds right now are 300 at 14, 300 at 14. Okay, our barrow for landing. So come on over here to the approach, LSZH. And go to stored, and our approach is, let's see, 1,588 feet. 1,588. And there is our barrow. That's good. Back to the performance page. We're 84 miles out. Come on over here. So this is going to be 6,000 feet at Unexo. I don't know. I'm not very good with a lot of those names. I kind of screw it up. So here's one at 5,000. Oh, there it is right there. Unexo is right there. Utexo, whatever. Anyway, 6,000 feet is going to be my preliminary descent. And in fact, ATC may very well be telling us that we would descend via blah, blah, blah. So let's go ahead, and if we're good to go there, I'm going to assume that number is 6. That's probably not right. Well, it would be 6 or 5. Okay, so all of that's good. ILS, the other thing I want to go do and store in my short-term memory, which is really totally fried at this point, is IZS 110.75. Go down to the radio navigation page, IZS 110.75. That means that the airplane is already expecting that ILS and frequency for our landing. Fortunately, this airplane is smarter than I am. How's our fuel doing? Okay, so fuel, my estimated fuel on board for landing is 2.9. So that's pretty good. What were we supposed? It's supposed to be 2.7, so we're actually kind of ahead of the game. But you know what this means? It's time to do the arrival performance. And this is actually really pretty cool. So we're going to go, and our runway that we're expecting is runway 34. Let's go and refresh the METAR. And let's apply the METAR. Landing weight. Oh my goodness, what could this be? Okay, so there's several ways to get landing weight. The way that I've been doing this right now might not be 100% the right way to go. Is I will go and look at my flight plan, and my flight plan gives me a landing weight of 60.9. Okay, so I'm looking over here on my style of flight plan. There was 0 fuel weight. There was takeoff weight. Landing weight is 60.9. Oh, no. You do 0 fuel weight plus your estimated fuel on board. Ignore me. Okay, so 0 fuel weight. Yeah, that's what it is. So 0 fuel weight is 58.1. 58.1. And then you add 2.9. And that gives us 61.0. So let's go over here. Landing weight is 61.0. And hit return. Okay, I think it's going to be, the runway's going to be good to medium today. Because of the winds and the thunderstorm, there's probably a little water on the runway maybe. And so what we just got is the wind is going to be blowing at us from the left side of the airplane. 11 knots down the runway, 9 knots pushing us. And stopping distance gives us everything we need. So all of this looks like we're going to be able to successfully land, assuming the thunderstorms don't blow us away. Once we get on the ground on runway 34, so there's runway 34, we'll probably get, well, we'll hope to maybe, I bet we're going to be over here. My guess is we'll probably be crossing runway 28 and getting off at Bravo here to come back into the gate area. I don't know that we're going to be able to get off at Echo 6. We'll see. I'm going to go auto brakes medium, but we'll see how that works. So back to performance, 59 miles. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this. I jotted the notes down for figuring out what our landing weight's going to be, and sometimes I can't read my own writing. I think it says 0 fuel weight, add in estimated fuel on board, and that should be what you get for a landing weight. Now, if you've got to hold, if you have to go around, if you had to divert just a little bit right or left or something like that, then all of that goes out the window. All out the window, and you get to do even more math. But that's one of the things we like. Okay, so let's go back in here. Usually, we're going to get a message from DLH Ops, and it basically will say one of two things. It's going to say, give us the excuse about why you were late, or it's going to say, no, give us your excuse report needed. You remember when we were looking over here, and I showed you the delay card here? So there you go. That's what happens with all the delays. So back to Navigraph. And we can go out of here. Let's just look at the route and see how we're doing. Oh, there we go. Looks really nice. From here, it looks like it's going to be a really nice arrival. We, of course, know different. We know that we have thunderstorms, and in fact, now is a really good time. So let's go over here and go to this little website again, LSZH. And again, if you are new, this is your weather website. This is going to show you really visually what to expect. We're going to be on runway 34. So you can see there's that wind. There's runway 34. You can see where the clouds are going to be. It's going to be about 5 knots. And if you feel like it, go ahead and just Control C. And if you're keeping flight notes like I do, then you come over here and paste it in. Initially, if you're getting started in the world of flight sim and stuff, one of the things I suggest is use paper first. But then before too long, you'll notice that you're going through a whole forest of trees of paper. So that's why it is that I developed my little flight strip. Let's see how the real world's doing. They have not taken off yet. I'll bet it's because of the big bad thunderstorms over Zurich. Maybe it is a weather departure delay. See, they're smarter pilots than I am. They're smarter. They didn't take off. Okay, let's come on down here. We are 42 miles from top of descent. We still haven't gotten the DLH ops. And if you're flying for United, it's going to be UA ops. It's going to be Aegean ops, whichever airline that you're flying for. That's one of the cool things. And I got the ACARS overview PDF from their website. And this is how it is that I started learning this. So this is, and I just basically exported the web page to a PDF, how to use the company ACARS system. I'm still learning a little bit about how this works. So 30 minutes or less, this is when we get the load sheet. And so you recognize these things. It even talks about potable water. It also decodes it for you, which is sort of really great. They tell us what the codes are all about. We understand what we're doing. So 7 minutes on average after loading. There's revisions. 25 minutes airborne, ADC delay message for the sense. So that's ADC after doors closed. Okay, now we know that. It's ADC after doors closed. And we're going to get a no ADC required because we're such good pilots. Oh, and here's the one that says, okay, what's your excuse? And there's the excuse card. And then ADC delay, and then you put your code in. If we had to divert, this is how we do diverting. Diverting due to poor weather. Now, that's what we really should do with all those big bad thunderstorms, but we're going to live dangerously. So I definitely suggest with this airplane spending just a little bit of time at phenixsim.com and their website. Really pretty good. Hey, we got a top of descent hockey stick here at Relix. And so if we look, we see distance is 30 miles. Almost like we know what we're doing. Pretty scary. Pretty scary stuff. Okay, I may have turned down this just a little bit too much, so we'll turn that up a bit. On this knob here, so for the map display, there's actually two knobs here. Okay, this is for the data. The one on the back is for the map, is for a radar, whether it's terrain radar or soon to come weather radar. And so, and at night, I definitely, here's the one for the PFD. So you see it, turn it down. At night, I really turn down the PFD. Daytime, blast it up all the way, but at nighttime, it glows a little bit too much to the point that I'm actually not able to see the numbers on the speed tape. Nothing really to talk about here. Everything, this is, if the light is out, it means it's not broken. That's a nice thing. One of the other reasons that I like to, obviously I made a mistake by leaving the boarding pass thing up way too long. One of the reasons that I like to leave some mistakes in, to a video like this and not make it 100% perfect is because it shows that if you're flying along and you make a mistake, you don't just have to give up. You really can keep going. And if you can work a problem, if you've had a problem and you can work it out, wow, is that a cool thing to be able to do. And there will be problems. I mean, there will be problems that pop up, whether it's, in my case, forgetting to take a camera down. And I really would like to be able to take my OBS and put it to another screen or something over there, just so that it's more in my eyesight, because sometimes I leave the wrong screen up too long. That's just being a good video producer. So we still don't have the after doors closed report coming in yet. If you're on VATSIM and you're doing CPDLC, you'll get a couple of CPDLC notices in here. You'll also get some in the text messenger window there. You might have noticed, so you see my regular pointer here, and now if I go and put it over a map, you can pop out maps. People over on the Spy Flight are telling me that if you pop out a map, that has an impact on your performance. I virtually never pop out a map. that's going to destroy the immersion for me just a little bit too much. So I rarely will ever pop out a map, but that can be an FPS killer. So 17 miles. Fuel prediction page is still good. We have a progress page here too. Our progress is in great shape. This is where we can set a bearing if we wanted to. You know, put the range ring up. How far away are we from the airport? I usually leave it here on perf. That's going to give me this important number here. This airplane does not start the descent. You got to press the button. So I call that the Mystery Science Theater 3000 button. And that's when we're going to, when Dr. Forrester is going to tell Frank to push the button. And if you never saw Mystery Science Theater, that's how they ended the show. The mad scientist told the assistant, it's time to end the show, and you do that by pushing this. So there's your Mystery Science Theater geekdom for a minute. So 21,000, everything's looking good here. We could also come on in here real fast and go to Zurich. And we could go to standard. Come on in here. Have a look and see, okay, so transition altitude is set by ATC. What do you do when the transition altitude is set by ATC? Which it says right up here. Okay, so there's transition level is by ATC. That's going down. Transition altitude's going up. Almost those. There's always something there. So if there's no ATC and you don't have a number, what do? I usually basically just take that number at 1,000 feet, and that's my transition level. And so we can go here real fast. And it says 7,000. Okay, that's good enough. Good enough for me. But that's kind of how it is that I figure a transition level. And you see distance is now 7 miles away. I don't know if this is the correct way to do it. This is when I press the button. Because, you know, 007, the spy flight. Okay, that starts our descent. And it's going to start us down. Here is the donut. So this is the little green dot over here. Now this one they call the green dot. And it's going to start us down. Now, I probably started just a bit too soon. The squiggly, I don't think they call it the squiggly, but that's what I call it. This is when we're going to actually catch up with our descent path. And so this thing should start slowing us down a bit. And we have started our descent. Generally, I do seatbelts at 25,000 feet, unless there's turbulence or something. In this case, there isn't. We were lower. So now we'll do seatbelts at descent. And if we come over here, we should start to see ourselves show up on the moving map here. There we are at Relix. And everything is looking good so far. I don't see the signs of the evil thunderstorms. Sometimes Microsoft Flight Simulator weather doesn't quite catch up. Now I'm also starting to see it's not just nice little puffy clouds here, a single layer. We're starting to see some cloud tops. So I'll throw a little bit of weather geekdom at you. There is a term in weather geekdom called convection. And that is the rushing up of air, and then it cools off, and then it cools off, and as it falls, sometimes it becomes hail if there's moisture in there. So you start to see those clouds billowing up like that. That is what some weather geeks call convection, and it's a good indicator of thunderstorms. As we look out the window, I'm starting to see some higher cloud tops there. Maybe there's some thunderstorms out there. So if you're flying along and you start to see bumps in the clouds like that, it's not just a nice, gentle blanket of clouds. Maybe there's going to be something, maybe there's going to be a problem. So there you go. Okay, you can see we are catching up with the squiggly, and you can also see the donut is starting to come back down. So we are catching up with our descent. So the squiggly has got us. Now that we're actually in the star, I'm going to go away from airports. I'm going to go back to constraints. And this is going to show us what altitudes and speeds we need to be at. Now this airport, this airplane, if you've got a good star with good altitudes for your descent, guess what? This thing works great. It follows it perfectly. If it's one of those messy stars and, you know, not too well thought out, then at that point in time, you might have to make some adjustments yourself. If you get a late start, if ATC starts you down late, you know, you don't have to panic too much about it. It just means you might have to throw out some speed brakes and descend a little bit faster. So missing your top of descent because ATC is busy or something is no reason to panic. You know, there's some people that are new to this. I missed my top of descent. They're not sending me down. Is it time to panic? No, not really. It really is not time to descend. And clearly I have chosen the wrong, this is the wrong one. So, you know, bad pilot. You know, I'm going to reach for the white out here and just white that out. Okay, we're not going to look at that. So clearly I did not study my airport well enough. This looks about right here. So I think, are we going to Gipfel? Nope, not even going to that one yet. Yeah, this one has been really bad. So if we were on if we were on VATSIM right now, we would be getting yelled at because we're not following the descent that we said we were going to be on. So there would be fireworks there. One of the other things to do is, if you can, choose some airports that you know pretty well for doing kinds of things like this. That's a really good thing to do. How are we doing on the clock though? 15:14 Zulu is our current time. We are supposed to be on the ground at 15:40. Wow. The clock is ticking. Let's see if the real world airplane's even gotten off the ground yet. Yeah, they have taken off. They did take off. They're going to be landing 28 minutes late. So these times don't reflect the actual schedule. So the scheduled flight departure was 4:25 local time. So they have taken off. They are, looks like they are at 21. Looks like they're climbing a little bit more. So they're climbing up. Zurich still has some nasty weather around it. So, but they have finally taken off too. I think we're going to beat the real world airplane though. We will be on time. Unless, of course, that big bad thunderstorm's up in front of us and it's going to, you know, tear up the airplane. One of the things is, if you're on VATSIM, TCAS works very, very nicely. It really does. And you're able to use that and say, oh, there's an airplane coming up. And you can do traffic collision avoidance very, very nicely. You really can. We're actually flying, this approach is flying us right over the runway. So although some things were a little bit off, here we are coming in. So there was Relix, TRA, so we're actually doing this approach. So what I did over here was not right. So we're doing this, and we're going to go and do over the airport. We kind of turn around and down we go. So that's not bad. Missed approach, always good idea to take a look at this if you get a chance. So missed approach, initial climb is going to be 5,000 feet straight ahead at 5 miles out. So that's this dashed line at 5 miles. Turn left, no faster than 185 knots. And we're going to do the zoo. We intercept the zoo R258. So there's zoo there. So the 258, and continue the climb and proceed to Gipfel and hold. Always a good idea to just have a quick look at that. I've had to do that a couple of times because of a VATSIM is set up. You got to go around. Airplane ahead of you is too slow. So follow missed approach procedures. And oftentimes, especially in crowded VATSIM events, that's exactly what you'll do. You know, that's what they will tell you. So having a look at, okay, what is it that we can do? Now, the good thing is this airplane is so smart, it's already got that information in there for you. Passing 11,000 feet, speed's coming down very nicely. and we're starting our little turn. We're at about 240 knots here. I'm going to be getting our speed down here to 210. Now it's got a slowdown around here, but I'm probably going to start. Here's another slowdown here. Maybe that's a 230. Is that a 230 slowdown? So we're coming around here. Don't see a speed, but it could be in there. Could be. So there is 6,000. There's probably one, but I'm probably missing it in the spaghetti there. Let's see what it does at this slowdown here. There's 10,000 feet. So pre-arm the nose light. And what's our speed here? 250. Yeah. We can go ahead and do landing lights. Let's also 10,000 feet do a cabin call. Let the cabin crew know that we are serious about doing that landing thing. Okay, it didn't slow us down enough. So in this case, I'm going to be a control freak, and I'm going to drop my speed down to 210. I want to be 210 as I go around that turn. And all right, there's a little yellow arrow, so we're slowly going to make it down there. It's hard to see. I don't know what the official word is. I call them the hash marks. And they're very hard to see, and they're kind of hidden behind the little yellow. Let's see if I can go a little closer. Yeah, we can. Okay. So it's these two little golden lines that show up, usually on another, on top of a white line. There is the green dot, so that's when we can start throwing out that's when we should throw out the flaps. This is when we can. It's safe for us to do that. So again, I don't know if it's the correct turn. I call them the hash marks, and what we can do is we can do flaps 1. As I do flaps 1, I'm going to go ahead, and this is when I'll do speed brakes unless I'm using them to slow down. Auto brakes, I'm going to go medium so that we can make that first turn. We're coming up on 210 as we go around the turn here. As we roll out after the 210, we're going to go to 180. I've taken control of speed at this point, so I'm going to go ahead because I don't want to forget, and we're going to go and put that in approach mode. And at this point, we can do the approach checklist. Our briefing has been done ad nauseum. ECAM status is looking pretty good. I don't see anything that says we're in trouble. Seatbelts are on, barrel reference is set, the MDA has been set, engine mode is going to be normal, and we're good to go there. I do have some hills ahead of us, and if you listen outside the airplane, it sounds like it's raining cats and dogs. Oh my gosh, look at all the rain going by the window there. If we look out here and go forward, you can see our leading edge slats are down too. If you're like me and you tend to kind of, scooch around in your chair a little bit, in my case too much probably, now's the perfect time to make sure that you're sitting correctly so that you can do your rudder pedals. Altimeter set. Back to the weather page. Our altimeter's 1006. Just saying, 1007 would have been a better altimeter setting for us. If you wait too long, it's going to beep at you. Oh, come on and beep at me. This airplane loves to make me into a liar. I am not. Okay, if your altimeters are not don't equal each other, it's supposed to beep at you. It didn't this time because it likes humiliating me. Okay, so we're making our turn around there. That looks good. Let's do one last click of the map. And we're handling the turn pretty good. Our vertical deviation is not too terribly deviant. Yes, my brain goes there on occasion. LS. We're going to arm LS. I am picking up localizer. And I've got something I haven't seen before. L vertical and my deviation is definitely different. So we're going to leave that off. This isn't an RNAV, this is an ILS. Why are you yelling at me? That's something I haven't seen before. But let's just go with it. Okay, we've got altitude and 6,000 feet. I'm going to go ahead and let it continue down to 5,000 feet. Let it manage itself there at 210 knots. Okay, as we come around there, LNAV and VNAV are looking good. Will you let me go and do LS now? Nope, it still does not like me. So it says there's something weird. I'm not sure what. I haven't seen that before. No clue. We are 14 miles out. Let's go ahead and arm and go with it anyway. I think that that's telling me that there's something wrong. Let's see. Visibility is not that great. I'm going to go ahead and this is, I'll probably disconnect, but I'm going to arm the second autopilot for Category 3 dual, just in case. Okay, we're getting kind of close. How are we? 12 miles. I would like to be at 180. That gives me another notch of flaps. How are we doing? So it's hard to see, but here's our little hash mark right there. So we might need some speed brake to help. We're looking pretty good on this. 110.75. I wonder if it's beeping at me. See, we're going over this little hill and it says high terrain. Expect nuisance GPWS warning below 1,488. Really, there's a nuisance GPWS. I've got to wonder if this has something to do with the rain, or maybe this has something to do with that little hill. I'm not sure. I think we need a little speed brake here. I'm not slowing down. And in fact, I'm kind of speeding up and I want to get a little bit slower. We are coming up on 7 miles from the runway and I could use a little more flap here. So this is something I have never seen before. So what do you do when you got something that you've never seen before? It's a sim. Go with it. What could possibly go wrong? So we definitely have a little speed brake out now. Okay, we're doing pretty good here. We're just beyond that little hash mark. All of this looks good. I'm going to have airport ready. And ready to go. If we were on VATSIM, I would also be looking to see if there was any chance that there was that there might be ground control, and I would try and preset that as they send me to tower. Okay, that looks good. And we do have contact with the ground now. Feet on the rudder pedals, ready for that. Okay, make sure that we are good to go as far as approach mode. We are. There is 5 miles from the runway. Manage speed. Landing gear. Are we below that next set of hash marks? We are. Flaps 3. You know, we didn't get the nuisance GPWS sounds. Coming up on full flaps. Speed brakes need to be armed. I had them out for a little bit. Real world pilots say that if you're using speed brakes on a landing like this or an approach, and you have to use speed brakes, if at all possible, keep your hand on the speed brake knob, because you forget, like I just did, and that's the reason why. I think I see the runway through the mist. I'm not sure. I still have this. I have not seen this before. No idea what that's all about. I will have to be diving into my into a flight manual to see. Okay, how we doing? We got wind whistling right down the runway. It's slightly off to the side. It's variable, so it's coming at us from the left. I'm letting the airplane do a little bit more of the work here. Remember, this is a offset. This is a displaced threshold, so you don't want to land right at the end. That's for big jets who need a longer takeoff run.
100 above.
And I keep forgetting to set the alarm
Minimum.
Continue.
100.
Light slope.
40, 30, 20. Retard.
Got blown off to the side. And floating, floating. Not a great landing. Reverse. Probably crossing the runway. .60 knots. Stow the speed brakes. Auto brakes off. Manual braking. Flaps up. I think they made this a really wide turn here. Speed brakes down, flaps up. They kind of make it a wide turn, probably for pilots like me. Strobes. So I still have no idea why it was flashing at me like that. So that's something that I've got to read. How did we do as far as the current time? It is 15:20 Zulu. We were supposed to be on at 15:34. We're actually a few minutes ahead of schedule. So that part of all of this, I'm actually doing pretty good. Clear all of that. Okay, we're going to cross a runway here. Ground says we can do that. But it's good to be a good pilot. Look out the window, clear left and clear right. Especially if you're going to be playing a multiplayer. Now, multiplayer is essentially a free-for-all. After landing checklist, we are flaps are up, speed brakes are down, APU is going on, radar is off, predictive wind shear is off, and we need to think about a one-engine taxi. I do have a procedure for one-engine taxi. That's another thing I've got to dig up from my flight manuals. And there we go. We're coming into the gate area. I figured that maybe we would be over, maybe down here. So there's this long, skinny gate area. I didn't have time to check out where Lufthansa parks here. Okay, so we're going to come back over here to McDo menu. And we'll go to ATSU, Air Operations. And let's see if we got any interesting messages that have come in. APUs should be popping up and running. It is. All the lights are in the correct configuration, so that's good. So there's that long, skinny gate area that I thought we would try for. And see if we can't find a gate on the other side. If you can, especially if you're going to be on a VATSIM event, one of the cool things to do is figure out an arrival gate, because usually ATC will say something along the lines of, say parking. So right off the runway, when you contact ground, sometimes ground control is saying, you know, where do you want to park? And most of us say, whoa. You know, my answer was always the gate closest to the bar, but they didn't think that that was funny. So one of the things is if you can take a look at the flight that you're shadowing and find a arrival gate, that's kind of a cool thing to do. Thrust idle on this is really is about all I need to do. So we got some big gates over there. We got some big gates over here. I think that this one looks like a smaller gate. Why don't we try this one? One of the people that watches the spy flight over on Twitch always likes to remind me to turn off the nose light as you're approaching in here, especially if you've got gate guidance going in. We don't, but you don't want to blind people. And that's one of the things that I really wish needs to be better developed here in Microsoft Flight Simulator, is gate guidance going in. They've got something up there, but it doesn't show anything. So the best thing you can do is come out of the airplane and just kind of look over here. You might need to stop a bit. Just boost up these little things a bit. Get yourself going. Not much. And how about if we take this one right here? Oh, I stopped too soon. I always do. There we go. So parking brakes on. Parking brakes are on. APU is good. So engine number 2, engine number 1. While we're down here, we're going to go ahead and turn off TCAS. And we got the APU. Let's get the bleed turned on. We're going to disarm the emergency exit lights. Seat belts, because passengers are already standing up, and the beacon light should go on too. We're going to be good pilots and turn off the fuel pumps. They've already connected external power, so we're going to pop in external power as well. Come on down here, and usually it says you can see the jetways coming out. Do you want to deboard the plane? Yes, deboard the airplane. And so we can come over here, and you can see it's already got the doors open. Go to mass and balance, and you'll see passengers slowly getting off the airplane. Did we get it? Look at this. We got an arrival message. What does it say? Our actual time of arrival is 15:32 Zulu. Okay, so look at the flight plan. And the flight plan said we have to be in at 15:40. We took off a little bit early. We arrived a little bit early, so not bad. In this case, I call that sort of a win. Now, our fuel on board, we didn't note this, it says 2.8. The flight plan said we were supposed to have, what? 2.7. So we actually won the fuel game too. We actually won, you know, how much fuel did you have? And beyond that, you can see the airplane is all set up. It's at the gate. Boy, I wish there were more U.S. airports that had these clear sides to the jetway so that we could see cool stuff. That would be great, but that's just the airplane geek in me whining. So a couple of things. That is what I call the sort of Fenix A320 level up. Now that you're starting to learn the airplane, go and find yourself a real-world flight, shadow it, and see if you can at least hit their performance. Now they took off late today, so they took off a little bit late here. They're just coming in as we are. There's more showers, it looks like, to the south of town. But we beat the real world flight. We arrived on time as far as the schedule. We didn't invade the fuel. That's essentially, that's a win. So that is a win. And hope you have a little fun with that too. Give it a try. Don't necessarily fly the route that I did. Go ahead and fly the route that you want to fly. And try and plug these kinds of parameters in and see what happens. As always, and clearly I made some mistakes in this one, this is not about the right way versus the wrong way. This is about what works for me, and I got to tell you, this did actually work. I do like to throw up a video that shows me making a mistake or two because it shows that you can recover from a mistake and get the airplane on the ground and at the gate, and trust me, those are going to happen, especially on a big VATSIM event. I'm really new here on YouTube, so leave your questions, leave some comments. I read all of them here on, I read them all. In fact, as chances are, one of you probably knows why it was that my primary flight display was flashing the vertical and horizontal deviation in orange. I must have done something wrong, but we'll see. Also, I hope you'll join us for the Spy Flights over on Twitch TV. 757 Spies, where you'll find us Tuesday through Sunday at 1900 Zulu. They're all group flights. They're pretty easy going, and we make it's really important that we keep the toxic completely away, so it's a good place to go. As I said, I'm relatively new here on YouTube, so I'm not monetized, but if you liked what you saw and want to support in any way, I really can. As a content creator, I can use your support, and the best way to do that, go over on Twitch and drop a sub or two. You could also hit that donate button, and maybe someday YouTube will say, yes, I've done enough work that I can be monetized there too. But thank you so much for flying along. I hope you like this. I hope that this helped out, and maybe this is a fun level-up challenge for this exciting new airplane in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Hats off to Fenix Sim. And hats off to you if you stayed in the video this long with me. Thank you for flying along. I'll see you again here on YouTube and even sooner on Twitch. As always, stay healthy, stay safe. Cheers.